Yes, Mr. Liver.
May it please you. Mr. Commissioner, my apology for the delay. It's because of logistical problems, but we're ready to start, and the next witness is ready to take the oath. Just push the red button.
Sandile Sibia.
Yes, Sandile.
You don't have a second name?
Sorry?
You don't have another name?
No, sir, I don't have another name.
All right. Do you have any objection to taking the prescribed oath?
No, Chair, I don't have an objection. No, sir, I don't have an objection.
Do you then swear that the evidence you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth? Raise your right hand and say, "So help me God."
So help me God.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. Mr. Sabia, you have filed quite a lengthy and detailed statement in this matter. But as I've explained to you, your evidence before this commission has nothing to do with your grievance against the PIC and the subsequent criminal charge that you have presented to the SAPS, and also your request for an investigation by the public protector. You understand that?
Yes, sir.
Just push the button.
Yes, sir.
So, as I've explained to you, thank you for all the information in the statement, but we will only deal with your evidence as it is relevant to the terms of reference of this commission, and Mr. Commissioner, I referred to 1.3, and that is whether any PIC director or employee used his or her position or privileges or confidential information for personal gain or to improperly benefit another person. And then 1.11, whether there are discriminatory practices with regard to remuneration and performance awards to PIC employees. Those are the two terms of reference that's relevant to this evidence and that I will select from this statement to present to the Commission.
Thank you.
Mr. Sabia, then, if you can just briefly start with your statement by telling the Commission who you are.
I can just tell Mr. Sabia to assure you that we will read the rest of the statement in our time, right?
Thank you, Commissioner.
If you can just briefly then tell the Commission who you are, your background, employment history, etc.
Okay. Thank you. My name is Sandile Sibia, as I've stated. Originally from KZN. Before I joined PIC, I was with RMB Private Bank for a period of about 11 years. I joined RMB Private Bank Business Administration team. I was there for about 3 years, and then I applied for a position in finance. I joined finance as a cash management. I joined the cash management team as a data capture. I spent about maybe another 2 years there. Then I was promoted to join the financial accountants. I think that was about the last of my 8-9 years at RMB Private Bank. So the duties as an accountant included month-end reporting to First Rand, and also the balance sheet management team where we had to compile the Bank Act returns, but we submitted to First Rand, and First Rand will consolidate and submit to Reserve Bank. So that was my history at RMB Private Bank. My qualifications, I obtained a degree majoring in accounting and economics. When I was at PIC, I did a course on remuneration with an institute called South African Reward Association. That course I did it's 10 modules. I've done 9, only 1 is left. Okay.
Thank you. You joined, as you stated in your statement, you joined the PIC on the 1st of October 2011.
Yes.
In what capacity?
As an HR finance officer. And what happened in 2015 when the company had a organogram restructure, I was moved to finance via a restructure. And what then happened is I didn't join finance. I was moved, in terms of documentation, I was moved to finance, but I never worked in finance until I resigned in 2017.
But you were initially on a short-term contract, and later then you were permanently employed, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. What exactly did you do at PIC when you started there?
Okay. When I started, PIC was looking for a person with a finance background to assist them on the data reconciliation between systems. Payroll was outsourced to VIP. The internal HR system was HR Focus. So I had to make sure that the two systems are in sync. The other responsibility was calculation of increases and incentives. And as time went on, the responsibilities were increased. I had the system administrator role. I took over from Krishna, who left HR. That is amongst the stuff that I had to do.
If you can have a look at paragraph 9 of your statement. When Mr. Polwani joined the PIC, he requested you to do some research into the South African Reward Association. Is that correct?
Yes, that is correct.
And you assisted to have the PIC enrolled as a member of that association?
Yes, as a member of SARA.
Were you then involved directly with the payroll and the calculations?
No, sir, I was not involved in payroll. PIC has a payroll officer, and there is a manager that signs off payroll.
In paragraph 10, you deal with your reporting line. Can you just please explain that?
Thank you. Okay, actually that line is the HR team reporting line. When we had Petro as an acting, Petro Decker as an acting COO, sorry, HR team reported to Petro Decker, and before the CEO Elias Masilela resigned, HR was redirected to report to Elias Masilela. And then what happened is, after Masilela, a new CEO was appointed, Dr. Dan Machila. On the restructure, HR was redirected to report to the CFO, not CEO.
I then want you briefly to deal with the annual incentive calculations, and you've broken it up into different years. Can you just briefly deal with that?
Okay, thank you. Okay. When I joined PIC, the incentive system was an individual system. So it meant that a bonus incentive for an individual is based on his or her CTC. Number one,
you must explain what a CTC is.
Okay. CTC is cost to company. So number one, on the policy, we had a table with a grade and a percentage, a bonus percentage for that grade. For example, the grades are from A to F. So the highest was, F was 60%. And there was another bonus percentage based on performance. The performance rating was 1 to 5. So for the purpose of illustration, let's say a 5 was 100%. So if your salary was 1 million per annum, that is cost to company, and you are grade F, so 60% will be the first percentage that will be applied on your cost to company. So the second percentage will be according to your performance. If your performance is 5, it will be 100%. So all employees had this formula. You were able to calculate your incentive as soon as you get a letter confirming your performance. So if your cost to company was 1 million, it means the base to calculate your CTC will be 1 million times 60%. So that will be 600. And then we apply the percentage based on performance, which is if you've obtained a 5, and then your incentive will be 100% times 600. So people will know exactly, as soon as they get their letter, what will be their bonus. That was up until the end of year 31st March 2013. Now,
just a question there. So the 60% would be the baseline of the bonus and all that, and then you use your grades within that 60%. So if it's 5, then you get 600,000 rands. Is that what you're saying?
Sorry, Commissioner. So the first base will be based on the grade. So grade A will be the lowest, grade F will be the highest. So if the highest is 60%, then it means on your cost to company of 1 million, we'll apply the bonus percentage based on the grade. So 1 million times 60%. And then the second one will be based on your performance. If your performance was a 5, and the percentage there is 100. So your base of 600 times 100% is 600, yes.
Okay. So it was, as I understand you correctly, it was easy for any employee of the PIC, once they received the letter of the annual increase or bonus, they can calculate it themselves. It's easy.
Yes, yes, Commissioner.
When did that change?
So in financial year 2013-14, ending 31st March 2014, we changed to a performance bonus pool. So an employee will have to, I have to calculate a percentage call from the bonus pool. So this meant now an employee will not be able to calculate his or her own bonus as soon as she or he gets a letter. Now, this process, I will just give a summary of how this process works. The bonus pool was based on management fees. HR will be supplied with management fees from audited financials. And then we'll have an approved corporate scorecard. The rating is also 1 to 5. But if a company obtains a rating of below 3, then there will be no bonus pool to share. And then there's a table on the policy. From 3, the company will share 4% of management fees. And at a 5, the company will share 20% of management fees. Now, this was a change that when you compare to the previous year, people were not able to actually confirm if their individual incentives were correct. So that's from year 2014-15.
Please briefly deal with the process to approve these.
Sorry, just if you could, if it's possible, I'm not sure if it can extrapolate that way, but if you used your same example of 1 million, 60%, 100% on the new system, what would happen in that example?
Okay. It's quite complicated. I will try.
We could get an indication of whether the new system meant better, worse, different.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner. Right. So we will still, an employee will have his own individual rating, 1 to 5. If you obtain a 3, you are able to participate. Instead of using your cost to company, we had a grade, and each grade had a range. So it's grade A1 to A5 up until F, F1 to F5, and each grade will have a pay scale. So there will be a minimum, median, and maximum. Now we had an issue with basing incentive on salaries, because some people had high salaries from history. So to be fair, the policy was updated in such a way that we base the incentive on a median. So now when it comes to rating, this policy had an individual score, department score, and company score, which is corporate score. The department score is a head of department, and your individual score is your score. At the high level, I'll just make an example with the CEO. The CEO will, his individual score will be 50%. The weighting applied on the score, and the company score weighting will be 50%. Now when you combine the two, you get an average score. That score is a score that is used as an incentive score, not the individual score. Now, when I apply that, then that score will have a percentage. When I apply the percentage on a median, I will get the base, which will be the same as 600. And then I will do that for each and every employee and sum all those base amounts and get a total. Now, each individual amounts, I will express it as a percentage of the sum total, so that I get a percent for each person. That percent represents your call in a bonus pool. That's how it worked. It could be more, it could be less, but the first time it happened, it was like a manna in heaven. Those bonuses were way more than the previous system, which is an individual system. So employees in year 2013-14 were happy with the bonuses. Okay, can I move on to the process of approval?
Just a question there is that, are you saying that the corporate scorecard or corporate allocation first before you go to the employees, it's a wrong process? Are you saying it's a wrong process, that they should have stuck to the simple one?
It's a correct process, because it put more money and employees were happy with it. The bonuses that were received prior to the bonus pool were lower than the bonuses when we are on bonus pool, on performance bonus pool.
So basically you are saying the corporate scorecard is taking money away from the employees?
No, not really. All I'm saying is, if you look at the bonus pool for 2013, I think it is around 80. And the first one in 2013-14 was 116 million. So the 80 is better than the 116. So the latest, the current, I will assume it's a current method, it's better than the previous one. You can earn up to 150% of your CTC, whereas in the previous one, the maximum base was 60% of CTC. So obviously, the first thing, it reduces your base for your bonus calculation.
Okay, no, it's fine, and then I'll ask further as you get into the process then, just to understand.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. We'll go now, I will go to the approval process of what happened. If I recall very well, Vilna Law confirmed that the bonus pool is approved by the board, and the Minister of Finance approves executive remuneration. But the process, as per delegation of authority, starts from HR. So I will calculate corporate bonus pool, and then executive head HR will recommend bonus pool to executive directors. Executive directors will recommend bonus pool to Human Resource and Remuneration Committee. And then the last stage for bonus pool, corporate bonus pool approval is by board, having received a recommendation from Human Resource Remuneration Committee. Once the bonus pool is approved by board, I will extract from my calculations what are the incentive for executive and submit that to executive head HR and the two directors, Dr. Dan and Matsebo. So they will then prepare a memo for the minister requesting approval of the executive remuneration. So they will include CPI. So by the time they go to the minister, already the board has approved the bonus pool. If I can just add on paragraph 15, Commissioner. So when I was busy with this SARA certificate, in the class of incentive, that class was presented by Dr. Mark Busin, who was at that time a commissioner in remuneration in government. So as usual in his class, when we're coming in for the first time for a first lesson, he will ask each and everyone to introduce themselves, giving the name of the company, your role in the company. So when it came to my turn, and he said, yes, I've been looking for you. Why is it that when I compare the state-owned entities' remuneration bonuses, PIC sticks out? So before I knew about the state-owned entities' remuneration guidelines, that time I didn't know about the SUR. So what I explained to him is that it can happen that an employee at PIC could receive 2 bonuses in a year if he qualifies for retention bonus. So in August, you get your short-term incentives. In December or 31st March, you get your retention bonus. So why am I mentioning this is because there was a delay on executive incentive approval. So when he told me about his role, I then understood that, okay, this is what causes a delay on the executive remuneration. But the board had already approved the corporate bonus pool. I will also, okay, this will link to my testimony when we talk about 2014-15 incentives.
Yes, you can go to page 7, 2014-15 corporate bonus pool and payout analysis.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. I requested information from the team, and then these analyses are based on the information that I've received. So I will talk to the table 3 for the year ending 31st March 2015. So the first line across there is an allocation. So based on the policy, finance will have to send us management fees, and then either executive head HR or executive director, Ms. More, will send me a corporate scorecard or PETO, depending on who was working on the corporate scorecard. And then the scorecard will determine the bonus percentage for the company. If you look at that one, it was 19%. So it means the company had to share 183 million. The 183 million will be further split into 117 short-term incentive. These incentives is payable within 12 months. And then the retention bonus payable for this year, it was payable in 31st December 2017. So that amount was 66 million. So I did a breakdown of in detail so that I can explain the variances. So the first section will be STI. The second section will be LTI. Now the first column, that is STI and LTI pool analysis. What we paid out that year was 100 that went to PIC employees. The $500,000 was a 13 check to employees at the centers. So we had a division called properties, and the management of the centers had the employees that it was recommended that they should not receive in STI, but that we should calculate separately their 13th check, which was $500,000. And then that approval that I just explained of executive heads, the final amount to be shared by the executive head was reduced by 2.7 million. And then in a staff meeting, when we finalized the 2014-15 incentive, the CFO Matsepe announced that she suggested to the minister, in order for the minister to approve the STI, that it should be limited to the previous year. So the resulting difference there was 13 million. So that was a deviation from the policy. Now, in terms of PIC, if you want to deviate from the policy, you must compile a deviation memo. So HR did not compile a deviation memo on this deviation. So the process for a memo will be, if I can maybe suggest what should have happened. The CFO was supposed to instruct executive head or request the executive head to please compile a memo.
HR.
Executive head HR.
Yeah.
To please compile a memo, because the directors want to reduce or want to limit 2014-15 incentive to 2013-14. So if that instruction came to HR, the HR would have instructed me, HR executive head would have instructed me to compile a deviation memo, and then that memo will go all the way to executive directors, HRRC, and board. So I never compiled such a memo, and I don't remember seeing a memo like that with an executive head HR signature. So that section was STI. If I can explain the next section, it's LTI. The allocation there was payable 31st December 2017. So the total allocated amount as per policy was 66 million. Now if we go back to the first column on the LTI section, the LTI that vested. So for LTI to vest, an employee need to obtain a rating of 3.5 each year, and an average of the 3 years should not be below 3.5. So the amount that was due to employees was 38.5 million. Now, if you resign before the pay date, you forfeit the LTI, and then whatever was allocated to you, you're not gonna pay. I've seen a memo where the executive directors request a deviation. I was not part of that memo. And then there was a sign-on bonus, which is also in the policy of 1.6. And then the savings from LTI was 22 million. Now, that 22 million results from the fact that the LTI was limited to previous year. Can I go to paragraph 19.2?
No, that's fine. Now explain to the Commission the new process. What is relevant to this Commission is to find out, have you stumbled across any evidence of improper conduct by HR or CFO with regard to the calculation of these incentives?
Thank you, Commissioner. If you look at the analysis that I've just went through now, there is a breach of process in that, in terms of delegation of authority, the executive head HR need to say yes before it goes to board, before it goes to human resources and remuneration committee, and then before the executive directors would have approved it. So that I think that was incorrect, that the HRRC did not see that memo, unless otherwise such a memo was not provided to me. The second session that I've seen is in 2015-16. If I may go to that section, okay, on page 9. Okay, I'm not going to go through the whole analysis, but I will go to column, this first column, corporate bonus pool analysis under STI. If we check the 64% was 116 million. But we ended up paying to employees 83 million. To properties employees, we paid 333. And then the executive cut, which was not distributed to the rest of the employees, was 1.5 million. And then there was an adjustment of bonus pool adjustment downwards, 31.3 million. Now, this is what happened. The CFO sent me a WhatsApp asking me to please prepare a scenario if the bonus pool were to be 34% of salary bill. Now, the bonus pool is based on management fees, corporate scorecard, and then the relevant percentage to the company performance. It is not...
I'm sorry to interrupt. Just to keep the Commission on track, it is paragraph 20.3 on page 9, Mr. Commissioner.
Thank you, Commissioner. So, calculating bonus pool, the corporate bonus pool as a percentage of total salary bill was incorrect. And then later, the CFO advised that he has a letter from the minister, and the minister at the time was Praveen Gordhan. This letter was requesting PIC to base bonus pool on salary bill, and then the percentage applied should be 34%.
Now, what was wrong with that?
Okay. So that was not in the policy, and if you want to deviate from the policy, you then need a deviation memo. So, but she said, no, she has a letter from the minister. So that meant then that the deviation memo was not required. But now the concern was the board must approve the bonus pool as per PIC. The minister must approve, the minister approved, and actually he requested to approve the executive remuneration. So to say that the minister has written a letter is okay, if we can see that letter. I then, on finalizing these incentives, I went to Lufuno, internal auditor, and I said, Lufuno, okay, before I give you these calculations, I need to get this letter, because if I give you these calculations, you're going to send them back to me and say, well, Sandira, you've deviated, where is the letter? And then we agreed, I asked him to accompany me to the CFO office, and I asked that maybe we should take Brian, because Brian also reviewed my calculations. We went to the CEO's office, she wasn't there. Brian spoke to the PA, Nogutula, and she asked Nogutula to please print for us this letter about bonuses from the minister. Nogutula printed the letter, we went through the letter. Now the heading on the letter was PIC management remuneration. So it wasn't about corporate bonus pool. It was about executive remuneration, which confirmed the process that we all knew. So I said, guys, it's fine, let's leave. We will come back when the CFO is here, and then we can discuss the letter.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. Are you referring to Annexure H to your statement? The letter...
Yes, Commissioner, Annexure
dated
H.
the 12th of September 2016.
Yes. Sorry. So we went back to the CFO office. We asked Brian to join us, but Brian said no, he's busy. I went with Lufuno. I said, Lufuno, okay, you start and explain, just to make sure that we follow the process. Lufuno said, okay, Sandile wants to finalize the incentives, and there's a deviation, then we need a letter to support the HR calculation. So the CFO, Matsepo, said no, the letter is actually for the executive directors. Then I intervened and I said, it's fine. All I need to do now is to submit the calculations so that you can make the payroll cut-off time. So I need a letter to submit the final calculations. She said, no, the letter is not yours, it's for directors. So that letter was not issued to HR, for HR to support their calculations.
Are you again referring to Annex H?
Yes.
Thank you.
If I can...
Sorry, just for clarity on that. What is the actual effect of it? If this letter was for the executive management at 34%, should that then have been different as an outcome? Was the 34% applied to the entirety of the bonus for all staff?
Yes,
so in essence, a misinterpretation of the letter, which was for the executive and heads of department at 34%, and for the balance of staff, it would have remained as it was.
Yes, so the staff would have shared the 34%, which was, then I would have summed the executive salaries, calculate 34%, and then share that for the executive. And then from the bonus pool, I will deduct the 34% of the executive and distribute the remainder to the employees.
At what rate? The normal calculated rate?
The normal model.
As you had outlined earlier?
Yes.
So in essence, the letter was interpreted to apply to all staff when in actual fact it was only applicable to the executive.
That's correct, Commissioner. If I can then jump to the audit of the 2016-17. Now these incentives were for 2015-16, but we pay in the following year. So the audit for 2016-17 of the incentive, there was a finding on my calculations. The auditors said, okay, we can see that you've got 85 as total incentives, but if we do a calculation, we're getting 116. So what happened to the 32 million? And I said, I think the auditor was Nonhlanhla. I told her, well, the CFO advised that she has received a letter from the minister requesting that the bonus pool for 2015-16 be calculated as a percentage of total salary bill. I did not get a letter from the CFO, but I'm sure you can get a letter from the CFO. But I then advise her to first go to Brian Mavuga, GM Finance, instead of going directly to the executive directors. Brian called me. As soon as Brian has spoken to the auditor, he called me and said, Sandile, where is the letter? And I said, no, I don't have the letter. The letter is with the CFO, Matsepo. So that audit finding in HR was not resolved by HR. This audit funding was then dealt with by finance, Brian and CFO. I'm not sure if the executive head, Chris Polwane, was involved, but I was then completely removed from resolving the audit finding.
Who removed you?
The CFO advised me that from now, all you have to do, you just do the calculation. You're not gonna get involved on approvals. So writing a memo and requesting approval of incentives is not your responsibility. All you have to do is to do calculation and give us information for the memos as we requested.
Yes.
So let me explain my removal from HR. After, in August or September, somewhere 2015, I was asked not to get involved on compiling memos. On the restructure in November 2015, the executive head HR approached me and advised me that you will be, Sandile, you will be taking up a new role as REM and benefit manager, but Gaugelo Naves will sit down with you and take you through this change. But
Are you referring to Mr. Polwane, the executive head HR?
yes, thank you. To my surprise, when the restructure was finished, I received a letter that says I have been moved to finance, and my new position in finance is financial accountant. That was November 2015. I then went to finance, spoke to Otis Nyalunga. According to the finance structure, I reported to Otis Nyalunga. I asked him, okay, have you seen the structure? He said, yes. Did you see that I report to you? He said, yes. I said, okay, so what's going to happen in terms of responsibilities and access to system and stuff like that? He said, hey, I don't know, you can speak to Brian. I spoke to Brian, he said he's busy, when it's got time, he will discuss that with me. So, in May 2016, a new employee joins HR, Diamond Mutimele. Now there was no space for Diamond to sit. And then Chris spoke to me and said, look, a small boardroom has been reserved for you. IT will assist you. You can work from there whilst you resolving your stuff with finance. In May, I sat there, I think up until we moved to the new building in Main Lane. So I never had any job description or sign a contract that says I'm in finance. I sat there until we moved to the new building. And in August 2016, when we are about to do the incentive calculations, on the 2nd of August, Brian Mavuga sends me an email. In the email he said, Sandile, you will be moving back to HR and you will be reporting to Chris, and there will be a meeting to discuss this move. So from the 2nd of August 2016 until I resigned, there was never a meeting. I had sent 2 follow-up meetings to Chris asking for the meeting. But I continued doing some HR work, but nothing for finance.
What was your take on this?
It was clear to me that asking questions has put me into this situation, and for that, I had to either resign or the company had to find some way of getting rid of me. Now, how PIC work, if you ask a lot of questions or if you seem to be wanting to know more on what is happening in terms of your space, they will either demote you or move you to another role or find charges on you. And then when you go to CCMA, they will never accept you back. They will rather buy you out or have some way of getting you to agree to a settlement. So it was clear that I was no longer supposed to be part of the company.
Can I take you now to page 11, paragraph 22.5?
Yes, Commissioner. I can speak to that. So, while we were busy with the incentive, I think that would have been August 2017, a colleague of mine approached me and said, Sandile, I've seen 2 employees in a printing room. They were using PICs on a bonus letter, and then they will make copies of a letter after they've applied the PICs. I didn't follow up on this letter, but I've got the names. I will avail it to Commissioner so that maybe if there should be a follow-up on what exactly this was, they can find out. But he definitely said a bonus letter. This is a time when we're busy with the incentives and also the audit for the 2015-16. And the issue on the 2015-16 was that the CFO had received a letter as a directive for the corporate bonus pool.
Have you experienced any personal interaction with the management that you were instructed to change figures on bonus letter or salary letters?
No, I didn't have any interaction with management with regard to this letter. Actually, when I got the information, I didn't follow up. And this is a month when I thought I've had enough. This is, if this continues and I stay in this kind of environment, I might find myself in trouble in terms of my profession. As a financial accountant, I would not want to have that kind of situation.
I can't find it at the moment in your statement, but you mentioned to me in the consultation that you received an email from the CFO about a change to bonus or remuneration. I can't exactly recall, and not to mention it to anybody else.
Yes, I've just received the emails on Friday. That was an instruction following up on the WhatsApp. I will make sure that I forward the email to the Commission.
Can you just elaborate on that? And perhaps I must
When you're
pause.
talking about Friday, are you talking about now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can I just explain, Mr. Commissioner, that Mr. Sabia approached
You
us.
talk closer to the mic.
I'm sorry. He approached us already in January to come to the Commission to testify about these issues. And it's been a prolonged and very difficult situation to get the emails and information he requested to prepare a statement from the PIC. And perhaps he can elaborate on that.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. As soon as I heard about the Commission, I took my statement, the SAPS statement, and I forwarded to the Commissioner, and I said, I want to testify. Now, the reason for me approaching the Commission I was unfairly treated by CCMA. That is my understanding and my interpretation. And the affidavit, there was no information after I've signed the affidavit. Even if when I went to Brook Lane police station to follow up if there was a case open, I was told that this case had no outcome. You can go check with the court, Pretoria Central. I went to Pretoria Central, they said I was never anything like that. A case, PIC against who? Then I explained that there were two allegations, one from me against CFO and one against the CEO, Dr. Dan Majil. So I was not happy also with the public protector, but I kind of understood when they said to me, look, we've contacted the company, you've only went to CCMA, please go to labor court, maybe.
No, but can I, sorry, I'm to interrupt you. You came to the legal team of the commission to assist you. Did they immediately say, yes, they will assist, and then you started requesting documentation through the legal team from the PIC? Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So I was just explaining the reason for coming here that I wasn't happy with other organizations, and I didn't want to take a matter to labor court because I would have went back to the same environment. So what I was trying to do is to have the constructive dismissal and sort out the environment so that I don't sort out my constructive dismissal and go back to the same environment. So when I approached the commission, I had done almost most of the stuff that I wanted to do, and there was no progress. So in January, it was so difficult to get information from PIC. I think after the suspension of the CFO, I managed to get more of the information that I'd required, especially the calculation, the memorandum to approve bonus pool, and some emails. So it was difficult to get the last part of the emails. I only got them last week, Friday.
And in this particular email you refer to, have you seen it? And you will hand it to the commission, but what is the relevance thereof?
Sorry, Commissioner, which email?
The email that I referred you to, telling you not to disclose what you must do to other people. Is that the email from Matsebo that says you must do some corrections and mustn't disclose it to anybody else? Speak about that.
Okay, sorry, Commissioner. I can't remember which year. I was actually charged with disclosing information to a colleague that I was not supposed to disclose. So what had happened, the CFO...
When was that? When you were charged?
I think it's about 2013, somewhere there. 2013, 2014. So what had happened, I received an email from the CFO. She asked me to reduce a score of an employee downward, and I must please not disclose this to anyone. The manager, the senior manager, HR, was Mapula. So even the manager where the employee is reporting, she was not supposed to know about this adjustment. Number two, so the process was that from moderation, Chris Nastredo and Nadia Tubrain will, and Ochaukelo will forward me the changes that I have to make on the balance scorecard register. The email sent to me by CFO was outside of the process. And I don't think it was deliberated in a moderation committee because it came straight to me and I was told not to ever disclose this information. But obviously at the end, the manager knew about the adjustment.
And that is the email you requested from the PIC that you only received, I believe, on Friday.
Commissioner, that email, I received it with the documents for my disciplinary because it was part of the evidence that I needed to prove that there's nothing in the email that says why is the employee's performance rating adjusted or not. Number two, I was not part of moderation. I don't attend moderation unless I am requested for a specific clarity-seeking question.
Can you just give us a brief moment, Mr. Commissioner? There's one aspect the witness wants to deal with, Mr. Commissioner, if you can just allow him to do that.
On page 13, I did a summary of the 5 years, trying to indicate what should have happened and what happened. So, column number 3, I labeled it as PIC management STI adjustment. Column number 3, STI column number 5 is a shareholder adjustment. So what I've heard in the previous testimonies is that there was an issue on the shareholder directive, but if I look at the document that I've received from the team, is that the only shareholder adjustment that was effective is the one in 2017-18, but I've already left PIC. That shareholder adjustment was on the shareholder compact, which requested that the corporate bonus pool be limited to 50% of employee cost, which is a second line on 2017-18. The adjustment amounted to 27 million. The other adjustment in column 4 is a 13.8, which was suggested to the minister and the chairperson of the board by the CFO. So that is not a directive from the shareholder. The second one is a 31.4 million, which is a misinterpretation of a letter. That letter was about executive remuneration. So that amount, the total amount there is 45.2 million. Now there are other adjustments that I've requested that we redistribute to employees, but the CFO refused to have those adjustments redistributed. Those were as a result of the minister's adjustment in column 5. They put 2.7 million in 2014-15, 1.5 million, 2015-16, 800 million in 2016-17. There was another adjustment, but I'd already left PIC of 2.1 million. That was also a cut on executive management. So the total amount that, in my opinion, that should have been redistributed to the rest of the employees, excluding the EXCO, is 52.5 million. That's all. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. That concludes the evidence of this witness.
Mr. Sibia, just to check something, what are you doing now? Where are you? What's happening to you at the moment?
Nothing has come up from 2017. I guess I have a reference issue, but I cannot confirm that. From January, I had this statement as my mini project. I still hope to challenge my constructive dismissal. I don't know what will be the outcome, but I'm working on it. Yes.
And where's your case now? Is it with the CCMA at the moment?
Commissioner, I wasn't happy with the CCMA because where we were supposed to start was on the fact that a first grievance that I had with PIC was not attended to. Now, in 2017, I had to do another grievance, but I still had one outstanding grievance that management had not responded. So I withdrew my case at CCMA, but I'm in consultation with an advocate in Johannesburg who needed more information. What I've given him at that time was not enough.
All right, thank you. Thanks.
Advocate Libber, could I ask that the point about on paragraph 22.5 be looked at and efforts made to find out exactly what occurred in relation to this printing of a bogus letter, I mean the doctoring of a bogus letter? I think that
Yes,
that
I've
should
already
be-
made a note of that, Mr. Commissioner.
that
We'll
should
follow
be
that up.
pursued. Thank you.
Mr. Commissioner, that's, if there's no more questions, that's the business for the day.
No, that doesn't look like there are any further questions. Thank you very much, Mr. Sibiya. Can I just assure you once more that we will definitely read the rest of your statement so that you don't say you've compiled it for nothing.
Okay, thank you,
We'll
Commissioner.
definitely go through it. And thank you so much for the time that you spent
Okay,
and for
thank you.
coming here to testify before us, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. If there's anything that we need clarity on later on, please be available so that we can clear whatever we want to clear with you in
Okay.
future, okay?
Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. We shall then adjourn until tomorrow morning at 10.